my goal is to build my own blockchain, but that's like $250,000, if that, just to get the developers to build that, create your consensus model. We're basically just talking about an IT technical stack. All right. Crypto itself is not something that you just say, hey, I'm gonna just go make it, right? You gotta know what you're building on. So everybody knows Bitcoin. You can't have your own crypto on that. You use Bitcoin, but Ethereum, you can create your own token on the Ethereum blockchain that was built. Like, they are.
What's wrong with them? No, it's not about that. It's the simple fact that we're able to have that type of
dialogue.
Something that can be possible, right?
Yeah. Behind closed doors.
If ain't nobody telling you what's possible, then how you going? That's gatekeeping. And I hate when people be gatekeeping.
But think about it, right? I'm a black guy trying to make it, and from his perspective, right? He ain't fully made it. He just went through the ranks, right? Mm-hmm. That somebody else can take if he gives it information. Mm-hmm. So his goal, think about it, right? If you're trying to get that grant, right? I told you because I don't care. I want you to get it. But most other folks, right? If I tell everybody, then I'll lose my chance of getting it.
Why do you figure that?
It's just the way the draw goes.
Yeah, but I don't think so, because I feel like we can give 10 people the information, right?
Right, exactly.
And out of that 10 people, how many people are actually going to take action to that? One.
Yeah.
So that's why, perfect segue. So welcome to the show, Business 101. I got today's guest with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Alexander Hill. I'm a crypto enthusiast, advisor, specialist. Put all the titles under there. That's me.
Absolutely. And thank you for being our first guest on our pilot episode today. Today, I want to bring you in specifically to talk about blockchain, right? Mm-hmm. The questions around blockchain are not as frequently answered, and I feel like in our community, we don't as frequently talk about it. Mm-hmm. I want to know exactly what blockchain is, what it's used for, and simply how can we make money off of it?
Yeah, sure. So simply put, blockchain is a series of computers, right? If we think about the public space, right, we have Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is a coin, but it sits on a blockchain, right? And if we look at the blockchain aspect of things, it's privately held, so you don't know exactly how they built it because it's private. Ethereum, on the other hand, right, is a public blockchain, right, where you can actually look at the source code and say, hey, this is what this is. So when you look at the source code, it is essentially computational power, right, of computers that validate transactions. Okay, so let's just say, for example, right, I don't know if you want to kind of question, we could stop me in between this, right?
No,
but
go ahead.
this is an example to kind of give that perspective, right? So if you want to buy property from a homeowner, right, or from a bank, right, there are these documents you need to sign to make that transaction possible, right? But it's on a piece of paper, right, which can be damaged, right? Somebody can fraudulently, erase your signature, put another signature, change the price. They can do a whole bunch of stuff once they scan it to a computer, right? Blockchain eliminates, the tamperability of that contract that was written. And this is a use case of blockchain as far as decentralizing, and that word is very key, decentralizing that transaction to the point where it's a record in time that can never be changed, and also is trusted because no one can go and redo anything to that contract. So
But no, thank you for talking about blockchain. The next question I had was, how do we use it specifically for, let's say, like a service business, and how can we make money off of it?
Yeah, so from a service perspective, right, like I said, there's many different ways to implement blockchain. So transaction-wise, it can also be used for storage. So you can store data on the blockchain and retrieve it when it's needed. So let's just say, I have actual, like, I would say, like ledger data, right? All of my, I would say, if I own millions of dollars, right, and I normally put it in a lockbox in the bank, right? Or the bank stores this information about all the transactions, what I've sold or anything like that. Well, that can be stored on a blockchain, right? Privately, in a private kind of scenario. If we want to think about a service where I trust you as a company to take my data and put it in a place where no one can touch it or tamper with it, right? That's just one use case. In a public sense, right? Technically, all data, anything that happens on a blockchain is publicly accessible. That was really the purpose, to make things transparent to both parties and whoever else is reviewing the data. How do you make money from blockchain? It really comes down to, how you write your contracts. And I use contracts very fluidly, but it's really the building blocks to how you move data securely between two people. So that contract can state, hey, I'm going to charge you X amount of whatever. It could be in crypto, it could be in USD, it could be in assets. How much that's going to charge for you to run this transaction on my blockchain. You could do that.
Multiple different ways.
Multiple different ways, right? Or it can be an upfront cost just for people accessing it, right? Typically,
that just gave me an idea.
Yeah. So, for example, if you wanted to, I would say.
What if I had a series of videos I was teaching somebody and I wanted a paywall behind it? Could I store that privately on a blockchain, and for whoever pay for it, they only have access to it?
Yeah. That's another good example, right? If you want to, store things on a blockchain and have people pay you in crypto, USD, that could be that transaction would be a contract that's written, right? So that, that asset or whatever, that file or whatever it is protected until that funds is received in your wallet.
Wow.
Everything's digital at this point. There's nothing physical.
Everything. Everything is digital.
So from a technical perspective, if you're not really technical, right, then you need to go hire a developer, right? This is all basic code. There's nothing really too out of bounds as far as technology. But, if you had a website, right, you can integrate your whole website with a blockchain technology and run everything decentralized. Data, logins, everything, it doesn't matter. Because it can't be tampered with. And so I think, and I tell anybody that I can, that's a startup, new business, black owned, doesn't matter, minority, integrate blockchain into your service offering. Okay? Because as you can see it in the news, right, it's just ramping up. You hear this, you hear that, right? And that is your key signs that things are going to be changing here in the near future. If you don't follow the government, there's been a lot of talks about how the government is going to create their own coin. It's called the USDC, something like that. And if you look it up on Google, just type in government cryptocurrency, and it's going to give you all the data, what they've talked about, what they're trying to implement. And they brought in crypto experts to Congress to talk about, what would it look like and so forth. But just to give you a broad, picture, right? Crypto is, if you think about, your kindergarten to, post-secondary education, right? Crypto is at probably first, second grade right now.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, how soon And we know here at Business 101, our priority is giving out free business literacy. So my question to you was, how soon should we be teaching our generation about blockchain and crypto?
Oh, right now. I mean, it's there's enough out there for you to grasp. Jobs in crypto are, upwards of 400K a year. I mean, it's that hard to find people that, done the work, had experience, trials, troubleshooting, errors,
So we talking elementary? Teach them as soon as elementary?
Yeah. I mean, it's a concept of really understanding money in its evolution state. Okay, our fiat, that dollar bill, is technically just debt that we hold. Okay, crypto.
Hold on, wait. Say that again. Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Okay, when you hold a dollar bill, right, you're holding debt. Okay, it probably doesn't tie to some, gold or gold-backed currency that they tell us that money is, right? It's based on debt. Okay, and so crypto is the replacement of that debt, because crypto is tracked, right? It's on the blockchain, so it's decentralized. So there's no way for you to be like, I need to borrow $1 million, right, from the bank. That won't happen on crypto. Okay. It's a transaction. Okay. If I go to work, right, if I go work warehouse jobs or work at fast food, and they want to pay me in crypto, right? Well, everything's digital. So I clock in, right, at this time, clock out at that time, and based on that, that time slot and my time rate, I get paid whatever. And that could all be done on the blockchain. There are a couple companies today that do crypto payments based on your clock in times.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of different. There's a lot of different use cases, and I think we are just hitting the tip of the iceberg on what everything that we can do with crypto. It started out with Bitcoin, with transactions. That's where it started. We've gotten to the point now where we're tying learning data to a profile that's tied to you through crypto or through blockchain.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's stored on the blockchain as a decentralized profile of your accomplishments. It could be from kindergarten to post-secondary to your PhD to even you working at a job. That can all be stored on the blockchain, and employers can look at a digital resume of your accomplishments versus you giving a paper resume.
Physical paper, yeah.
Okay, that's what we're going to. Okay, the reality is that we are already in the digital age. When we take our phone out, okay, and we get on a mobile app for our bank, and we transfer money from our savings to our checking, our checking to our savings, right?
All digital.
It's the same thing. We've been conditioned already to do this, okay? Except now we just moving numbers. That's all it is. We don't go take out cash and from the bank, from our checking, get the cash, and then get the money back and put it in the savings. We don't do that anymore, okay? So the evolution right now is conditioning the populace, right, to this digital age, right, where it's going to be easy to transition people to crypto, okay? There's a government side to this. There's a regulatory side to this that's not in place yet because crypto is still in its infancy stage. But let me just, give some scope to this, right?
They're gonna try to control it?
Yeah, they're already trying to. So there was a memo that came out from the SEC where they are exploring the idea of each state having their own cryptocurrency. Okay, so if you understand how government works, right? Each state they govern themselves, and they have an overarching body, which is you have your Congress, House of Representatives, and stuff gets moved around based on what bill or so forth that the states have to abide by. But each state has authority within their own bounds to create rules, regulations, and so forth. So they can haphazardly just create their own crypto and use that as a form of trade into their state. That's where, if we think about it, right? If this state's going to do business with the government, then the government needs to have their own Fed coin, and then each state will have theirs, and that's how transactions would happen.
Absolutely.
If we talk about trade, okay, China just banned Bitcoin because China started their own cryptocurrency.
Big balls.
Okay, that has already happened.
Yep.
Okay, and so trade is going to come to a point where the dollar is not going to be valuable
anymore. Wow.
Yeah. Just a couple weeks ago, euros became more valuable than the dollar. That just happened. No one really knows about it, but that's already taken place. So with the dollar losing value, right, it gives aim to crypto coming to power, and the governments are starting to see that if people stop borrowing money or using the fiat as a form of currency,
they will lose out.
Banks are going to have to readjust. Okay. I think student loan debt is $1 trillion. Who's going to pay for that?
Not me.
So, like I said, but I mean, it's definitely a research kind of identifying your business plan,
Absolutely.
How you approach implementing this, because it's entirely a technical front. There's a social economical perspective, marketing perspective, but it's really the technical security side of things. Because once you start issuing a blockchain into your ecosystem of services or products, security is a big deal. There are companies there that come and grade your decentralized environment. How secure is that? Can I hack that? Okay, when I say Bitcoin or blockchain or cryptos in its infancy stage, that means that there's still loopholes that people can do to really compromise systems and so forth, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like how our credit card processing is today. When you swipe a card, there's an infinite amount of checks and balances that take place when that happens. But that's only been developed in the last 50 years, okay? So crypto, blockchain, all that is still in that process of really, evening out the kinks and everything. So it's definitely a feat. But I would not tell you not to because of the infancy stage. This is the best time to get into it and make some money out of it. It's the fad term. If you go to anybody and say blockchain, crypto, that you're doing that, it's an instant win because it's so new, it's so fad. That means you're on the top tier of technology if you're able to implement that. So any funds you get, I would say, hey, put it towards it. Find a developer to really walk through how to implement it to your business and really know how to really focus on something and know how to build an audience out of it for a use case.
Absolutely. So the last question I have for you is, and first of all, thank you again for being a special guest on Business 101, where we're talking about blockchain today, because I am ignorant when it comes to blockchain and I had so many different questions. So I obviously wanted to bring in somebody special to go over that with me. But again, final question I have for you today is, why do we coincide blockchain with Bitcoin so much, or crypto?
Yeah. So the real hierarchy is that a crypto sits on a blockchain. Okay, so if you think about a block, right? What the heck is a block? Well, a block consists of pieces of data, right? So we have a hash, SHA-256 code, right? If we think about it, if we break it up into three parts, we have the beginning, we have the middle, and we have the end. Okay, the beginning is with the first block, right? Well, so you have the initiated part of the block, the middle part of the block, and the end part of the block. The end part of the block is supposed to be the beginning hash of the second block. Okay. And because it's the same, the ending of the first block is the beginning hash of the second block, that means that it's chained together. That's the chain. So when you mine Bitcoin, you're basically checking to see, hey, are those the same? Is that chain really matching? If it's not, right, then you get awarded for that discrepancy, right? Well, there's multiple different things that get checked, but that just to give you the scope of what a blockchain is that SHA-256 code, right? There's a piece of it that has to match the next block, and then the end of that next block has to match the beginning of the third block, and so forth. Inside of a block, you have that SHA-256, and you also have the data portion, which could be the transaction amount. So if we think about it, right, when you run a transaction on the blockchain, whether it be a Bitcoin transaction, Ethereum transaction, right, that transaction needs a block, right, to run its computational power. Okay. And once that block, runs that transaction, right, somebody checks that to see if it's good. Okay. When you mine it, you earn Bitcoin from that because you spent the time, the computational power to figure out that transaction is legit, everything's good, and you go on to the next one. Bitcoin is that. Ethereum is a different kind of perspective because if I wanted to start my own currency token asset that's tied to it. And that's kind of the misconception there. But, the real core piece of the puzzle is that you build tokens on somebody else's blockchain. If you want your own coin that nobody else can have, then you have to create your own blockchain. Okay? Which, if I name some out, Polygon, Tether, Bitcoin, these their own Filecoin, they made their own blockchains, which is a very heavy technological build, right? Which I can, that's a whole other conversation, right? But for your understanding, right, there's a difference between you having a token and you calling that a coin. For marketing, you could do that. But then the root of it is it's a token on Ethereum, on somebody else's blockchain, public blockchain. And we interchange blockchain with, crypto because maybe we don't understand the difference. They coincide only from those two perspectives. Okay? Either you're on somebody else's or you have your own. Okay? Majority of coins today are tokens that sit on Ethereum. Ethereum was the first platform that allowed people to really have ownership of a token without having the burden of building their own blockchain. That's why Ethereum became so popular. And it's the best place to start to raise money. I think we said before, right? There's a lot of tokens today that came into existence and then disappeared after they raised $2 to $5 million.
They got their money and got out.
Yeah,
but they used it for a reason.
But see, now the SEC will come into play and really crack down on that type of activity. Because if you promise a product or anything like that and you don't deliver it, then technically I could say it was a fraud, it was a scam. Because I falsely advertised to you something that never really existed or ever happened. So there's a difference between having a utility token and a security token. Utility tokens are designed to be used towards something for trade, access, immediately once somebody buys it. Securities is similar to your regular securities exchange, where you basically hold things in a wallet and hope that it grows in value based on the market. Those are the more volatile type of tokens. If anybody knows what happened to GameStop a couple years back, where they just flooded the market.
The AMC.
Yeah, it just flooded the market, and then people stopped buying, and it dropped down to like zero. Right? If you had a security, then that token just lost complete value. Utilities are different. That means that you're buying it to use it somewhere. This is why Bitcoin's good, because you can actually go use it and purchase with it. Purchase items, depending on people have the software technology to allow you to purchase things. But that's That's the difference. So the SEC won't look at you if you have a utility token. They will hone in on you if you saying, "Hey, I'm promising something in the near future, and buy my token so I get the money to do it." And if it never happens, then you can get court-martialed.
Big fraud.
Yeah, big fraud.
Big
So
fraud.
remember those two. Don't just make something and just run off with it. Really create a product, add it to your service offering, and give people the ability to use what they purchased, that token, on your platform somehow to redeem something. Redemption, right? Trade. It could be a course that they got to use the token they purchased to buy access to something like that. So it's a technological front, but I think that's the best use case to stay out of the SEC's purview.
Absolutely. Biggest takeaways that I learned today was get a developer,
Mm-hmm.
do your research,
Mm-hmm.
and get a developer. Right?
Yeah.
Because if I don't understand the information, then I need to get the correct professional
Mm-hmm.
and be willing to invest and learn into the correct person.
Exactly.
So again, thank you. Again, this is episode one of Business 101. Again, we're here to create and give out free business literacy. Thank you, Alex, and peace. Appreciate you guys, and make sure you like and subscribe. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Episode 1 in the books. Let's go.
What was the first episode?
Yeah.
Did you understand what I was talking about?
Yeah, I understood it. I just don't understand the big words, but you described it very.
Yeah. I could go real big. I was like, let me tone it down. But there's a lot of specifics that I wanted to bring up, but